Wonderful to see you. My name is Michael Williams, and this video is entitled How to Stop Stuttering by doing something very simple, remembering to breathe. How to stop stuttering by remembering to breathe. Now, if this is the first video that you've seen, I strongly encourage you to go back and start from the beginning of the series so that it makes sense to you. And we should have links in or around this video that allow you to access the whole playlist. It's a whole series of videos titled How to Stop Stuttering Using the Pro90 Speech System, but each video is labeled or titled individually. And this one is titled How to Stop Stuttering by Remembering to Breathe. Believe it or not, many people who struggle with their speech forget to do what? They forget to breathe. Can you imagine that? But it happens, right? They're speaking, and for some reason, they've created this pattern or habit of not breathing fully, rhythmically, regularly, right? So they've forgotten, right? And there are times where they will breathe regularly and their speech will be smoother. But there are often times where they are anxious. Sometimes even when they're not anxious, they'll just forget to breathe. They've created this bad habit of not breathing fully when they speak, okay? So one of the things, and this is basically a skill that you learn. We don't focus a lot on breathing, but it's critically important, right? One of the things that we teach you is how to breathe more fully, more rhythmically. And in fact, I used to call this what we call reverse swimming. So you imagine when you're swimming and you take X number of strokes, right? And you come up and you take in air, and then you hold that air and you go down, and as you're swimming, you're allowing some of that air to come out. Take a certain number of strokes and then you come up, right? You take in more breath and you continue this pattern, this cycle, this rhythmic way of breathing. So I call it reverse swimming because when you're speaking, you're going to take in air, and then while you're exhaling, you're speaking, right? So you are speaking on the exhale. You don't take in a breath, let it all out, and then speak. You take in the breath, and like a balloon where you're releasing a little bit of air at the time. So imagine blowing up a balloon. Then you hold it, and then you let it up, and you see the balloon slowly going down. So as you breathe in through your nose, you fill up your diaphragm, which would look like your stomach expanding like a balloon, right? You fill up your diaphragm. You don't have to fill it all the way up, but you breathe in, you allow your diaphragm to fill up, and then as you're speaking, you're releasing just enough air to vibrate those vocal cords and allow the sound, to allow the words to come out to be heard. So you have to remember to breathe while you're speaking, and to breathe through your diaphragm and not in your chest, to get all up in here, right, in your chest, or to try to just speak from here. You want to make sure that you're breathing in deep down into your diaphragm and that you're releasing enough air on the exhalation. So I've literally watched some people take in air, let most of it out, then speak, and then they run out of air. They stress out their speaking system because they don't have enough air. Air is what gives you your momentum. Air is what gives you the power to speak. So sometimes you just have to take a deep breath, let it out, and then continue to speak. You take in air, you let it out, then you take in enough air to be able to speak, right? You don't take in air, let it out, and start speaking with no air. You gotta have air. But sometimes you just take a deep breath, let it out, take in another breath, and begin to speak. Sometimes you don't have to take that deep breath, you just take in enough air to fill your diaphragm just enough, right? You have to have just enough air in there to be able to speak smoothly, to have the power and the momentum to speak. So this session, what we talked about is you're remembering to breathe regularly and rhythmically, just like swimming. So while I'm speaking, I'm taking in breath, and I'm continuing to speak on the exhalation, and I'm taking in breath, and I'm continuing to speak on the exhalation. So you want to make sure that you remember to breathe. And we teach you this in the Pro90D speech system. So I want to encourage you to take a look at the Pro90D mobile self-study so that you can learn how to breathe more regularly and rhythmically as you speak, so that your speech will be more powerful, right? And you won't get stuck and you won't run out of air. Once again, this is Michael Williams. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next session. you.